Today, President Biden is expected to announce the U.S. will suspend normal trade relations with Russia as the Senate approves a multi-billion-dollar military and humanitarian package for Ukraine that we mentioned a little earlier. So joining me now to talk all about this is senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang. Weijia, thanks for joining us. I think a lot of people are going to hear about, the change in how we are or sort of suspending normal trade practices. And they would have thought, well, isn't that what the sanctions are all about? But this is something else. How does this change things?
So if you're a normal trade partner with the U.S., then you enjoy some lower or controlled tariffs. And tariffs are the import tax that countries have to pay when they import products into the U.S. So what this does will basically implement a price hike for Russian companies that want to send their products here to the U.S. And the idea is that we will take in less product from there because those companies will not be able to afford the extra taxes and will try to look elsewhere. But it's important to note that, Russia is not one of the U.S.'s primary trading partners. So when we talked a lot about tariffs before, it was during the Trump administration when there was a trade war in effect because China is such a massive trading partner to the U.S. and we were exchanging tariffs, which are essentially tax hikes on all of these products. But even though the U.S. doesn't trade that much with Russia in comparison to China, the president is expected to announce this move in coordination with the European Union as well as the U.K. So altogether, they are hoping that has a massive impact on Russia's economy, which of course has been their main strategy to try to deter Putin. But Anne-Marie, as you know, so far it hasn't really made a difference.
It certainly has not. Let us talk about this $13.6 billion aid package for Ukraine. What's in it? Where's the money going?
So this was a formal request by the White House, and overnight, as you mentioned, members of Congress passed it as part of their spending bill. We know that about $4 billion will go to helping refugees alone. Several other billions of dollars will go toward humanitarian assistance, like providing emergency shelters and food and trying to get those refugees, those people impacted, some sort of stability as they continue to be attacked. And then a large tranche of this money will be toward offering more military supplies to Ukrainian forces. But what's really notable is that will not include any kind of support for warplanes. And when we talk about support, we're not only talking about physical support from the U.S., but even just support of other countries trying to send them warplanes, which I know you have been covering as well, because, earlier this week, the Secretary of State said when Poland wanted to send fighter jets to Ukraine, he said that the U.S. would green light that plan and even backfill any supplies that the Poles needed if they were to send this equipment. But now the administration says any plan that involves a NATO ally sending warplanes to Ukraine is too risky. They do not approve of it, and they believe it would lead to more escalated tensions with Russia. So that's a complete reversal, and it is something that we are hearing lawmakers from both sides really criticize this morning because they, want to help the Ukrainians have whatever they need to fight off the Russians, and they're saying what they need right now is more fighter jets.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you about something else, sort of more mundane politics, if you will. President Biden's heading to Philadelphia today. He's going to address House Democrats and mark the one-year anniversary of the American Rescue Plan. This is sort of a gathering where they're going to sort of be hammering out their plan moving forward as a party. What can you tell us about the event and what we can expect to hear from the president?
Well, we should certainly expect to hear a celebration as well for this one-year anniversary because there are already lots of Democrats grumbling about how there has not been enough press, it has not been enough attention, I should say, instead on the American Rescue Plan when it was such a signature achievement of the Biden administration. And now we're marking 1 year of it. Remember, this is the plan that Democrats passed alone without a single Republican support, which really offers offered more relief to people during the height of the coronavirus about a year ago. So it offered more stimulus checks, another round of $1,400 checks. It offered expanded unemployment. And, Democrats are worried that the president has not made enough of a deal about this because it has been such an accomplishment, especially next to all of the domestic policy items that have failed so far. And so we definitely expect that he will talk about that. And then in terms of moving forward, I think he will have to address some of those things that have not been passed yet, especially when you consider that he's in your town, Philadelphia, which, has a lot of support for him from the Black community. And he's been really criticized for not doing enough when it comes to supporting those minority communities, when it comes to doing anything, as an example, on voting rights. So I think he'll have to tackle that head on and talk about the efforts that he is still making to try to reform some of those policies that are so important to the people who live there.
Right. Weijia Jiang, thank you very much.
Sure.